This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. When you feel like your best, fam, you can do anything. You can accomplish all those goals in your life. You make sure your family's good, and even start, who knows, a mildly successful podcast. Sometimes life gets you bogged down. You might feel overwhelmed. You're not showing up every day the way that you want to. But working with a therapist can help you get closer to the best version of you. Because when you feel empowered, you're more prepared to take on everything that life throws at you. The benefits of therapy are endless. It's great to just check in with somebody who can give you some perspective on life. Make sure that you're meeting all the goals that you set for yourself in life. So whether or not you've been in therapy, now could be the time to give BetterHelp a shot. It's convenient, flexible, affordable, and entirely online. Just fill out their brief questionnaire. You get matched with a licensed therapist. You can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Couldn't be easier. If you want an empowered life, therapy can get you there. So visit BetterHelp.com/madaboutmovies today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/madaboutmovies. How now, brown cow?
The arsonist had oddly shaped feet.
Unique, New York. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless America. I'm Kent Garrison.
And I'm Richard Barton.
And this is Mad About
Movies!
You sound insane. You realize that? The whole world gone crazy! Seriously? It's showtime.
Mad About Movies is your go-to movie podcast for all things concerning the world of cinema. We discuss movie news, we discuss movie rumors, we discuss movie rumblings, and then we break down our given movie of the week. Make sure you stick around for the end of the show so you can hear our weekly recommends. Also, make sure you follow each of us on Twitter, email the show at madaboutmoviespodcast@gmail.com, or visit the website madaboutmoviespodcast.com. Kent, this week's movie of the week is
the latest telling of the JFK assassination, Parkland.
Good morning, everyone. This is Norwood McClendon reporting. Fort Worth temperature 56 degrees, Dallas 55.
Nice day for a motorcade.
President and Mrs. Kennedy arrived in Fort Worth from Houston.
Early lunch today. I want everybody downstairs to see the president.
Now they've turned on to Elm Street. There he is!
So I don't know if you've listened to this podcast for any number of episodes. You've probably caught on to the fact that us three are based here in Dallas, Texas. It's where we record out of, live, and work. And most of us grew up here in Dallas. I believe you did, Richard, right?
Yeah, I did. Since I was like 3 or 4, so sure.
Okay. So it's inevitable, really, on this week that we've kind of been bombarded around here in the local media and everything due to the 50th anniversary of JFK's assassination, which occurred here in 1963 in downtown Dallas. It's just a crazy thing to be, I guess, associated with living here and hearing so much about it and being around the place where the events took place and all that. It's pretty crazy. So this movie, Parkland, came out this year, 2013. It was a very limited release, so we weren't able to screen it while it was in the theaters. But as soon as it came out on demand and on video, it was one that we had circled and wanted to eventually go over due to the actors involved and the subject matter and us being here in Dallas. And it just so happens that about 24 hours from now is actually the 50th anniversary of the event. So crazy timing, and it'll be good to talk about all that occurred that day and everything in the past 50 years that's come out because of it. So it'll be good to talk about. And
Absolutely.
I wanted to mention first off the bat, before we get started, Brian Gill is absent, as you probably have noticed if you're tuning in because you're a Brian Gill fan. He is, I think, working on his remake of Daddy Daycare starring Eddie Murphy and Jeff Garlin. So wish him luck with that in his initial research. But Brian, we miss you, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, well, you are missed, my friend.
And it's always good good to have Brian on the show. So give him a shout out on Twitter. Let him know you're thinking about him in his temporary absence. But keep a lookout for that Daddy Daycare remake. I guess before we get into Parkland JFK talk, let's at least talk a little bit of movie news, rumors, rumblings.
Movie news.
Yes!
Rumors and rumblings.
That's awesome!
Let the filibustering begin.
Richard, you know last week was our 50th episode on this journey we like to call Mad About Movies. I just wanted to kind of gauge your thoughts on what we've done so far. How has this journey, these 50 movies that we've reviewed and TV shows and best of episodes and rants and raves and everything in between, how has this movie experience so far for you shaped or changed your opinion on the world of cinema? I know that's kind of a vague question, but where do you feel? Do you feel good about the way movies are coming out and progressing? Has this year depressed you? Sort of give me your thoughts
on my State of the Union
on the first. Yeah,
on the first 50 episodes. This movie, this podcast for me, has given me a not an incentive, a reason to see a lot of movies that I probably not that I wasn't interested in them, but wouldn't have seen. Right? You have to record and somewhat be educated on something you would like to watch the movie. So I think for me, it's enlightened me because I've probably seen more. I've seen 50 movies this year, which is probably more than I've seen any year recently.
At least 50.
At least 50.
50, not including the movies you watched on your own.
Right.
Will.
And so Brian and you are, Brian sees everything and you see more than I do. So that's, I am probably the least I probably have the least expertise of the three of us. I say this talking about the world of cinema, talking about as it depresses me. I have a TV going in front of me on mute, and there is a Medea Christmas ad-on. So I am, while discussing of this,
the inevitable Medea Christmas movie.
I am while discussing this. I am now depressed at the state of cinema. But no, I think it's certainly been an interesting year. Certainly a great awards season so far, and it looks to get only better. The summer, I think, was a little depressing just because it was a lot of very formulaic movies, and we discussed that. So, I mean, I won't opine on that any further. But no, I think it's been really fun. I mean, we try to be funny on this show, and I will continue and resume in doing so the last here shortly. But Ken, I really enjoyed doing the show and talking about these movies with you. And it makes me, now I watch movies and I have a notepad and I take notes and I try to think about them in a sort of critical way that I probably have got out of practice of doing. I do that a lot with books, and now I've translated that over. So that's fun. And what about you? How has it changed? Has your opinion on things changed?
It really, I don't think my opinions on what's good and bad have changed at all. Because I think those are things that you keep your whole life, I think if you think a movie's bad when you're 8 years old, you're probably still going to think it's bad when you're 20, even though, I think just that's human nature and people stick to their ways in that aspect. But it hasn't depressed me. I mean, this year was probably one of the more predictable years that we've had. As far as we knew, which blockbusters were going to be the biggest, which ones were going to turn heads, which ones weren't going to turn heads, which ones are going to be flops. I mean, we've if you've kept up with all 50 episodes, which some of you obviously have, the numbers say so. You know that we're very honest on this show, and I think that's the main thing my goal is with this show is just to be honest about it. There are movies that I admit that I wanted to like and I wish were better. One of them is the worst movie I've ever seen, called Now You See Me. I have to mention it every episode. Don't see it. But as far as predictability, I mean, I on the website, I released a list in August, I think, beginning of August, of the movies I thought were going to be Best Picture nominees. And we've had a chance to see almost half of those or more. Mm-hmm. And absolutely. I'm confident that the ones that I've mentioned, other than The Counselor, which who could have seen that coming?
Yeah.
all of them are going to be nominated. Like on the list I'm looking at, Gravity, Captain Phillips, 12 Years a Slave, and Mud. Those are the ones on the list that I've seen, and I'm confident that all of those are going to get at least a nomination. So, I mean, and I judge that list basically on just the trailer. I hadn't seen any of those movies when I made the list. So, it's been a predictable year. You know, I think there are some favorites that I've circled that I think are going to end up pulling it out at the end. But, you know, we'll talk about that next week when we review our next movie. But as far as this journey, man, it has just been a blast to think of these movies in this way. You know, I'm the same way. You know, I like movies, and I've always enjoyed it. But until this year, I've never really put an effort to think about them in an educational way, you know, kind of stretch my mind when I see these movies, look at them from a different perspective, and also talk about them with people that can talk about them in an intelligent manner. You know,
Sure.
I think that's the most important thing is that, you know, us three as friends come on here and we do this show and we enjoy it and we love the interaction that we receive because of it and the notoriety. But we do it because it makes me, I feel, a better person to do these and to talk about emotionally how I felt about it. You know, it's sort of a venting process. You know, it's sort of other than our radio show we do, Richard, this is one of our only shots to talk to the world, you know, to talk about what's going on. And I think we've done a good job mixing, you know, pop culture aspects with movies. You know, we try to talk about movies, but everything involved in movie making, the movie business, you know, TV actors, directors, and anything that affects the movie world we like to discuss. So it hasn't depressed me this year. It hasn't encouraged me either. This has just been a very typical movie year. You know, I think next year we're probably going to be up for some surprises and some bad movies, bridging the gap between this year and 2015, which is going to be the best year ever to do a movie podcast. I'm pretty sure
it's going to be fun.
It's going to be awesome.
Certainly.
So this has been awesome, and I can't wait for the next 50 episodes. This is
50 more
51.
episodes.
We might actually pull out 50 before the end of this year.
Yeah, that's true. We might get to 100 by New Year's. It's been we've got that.
No joke. There are a few weeks in December where we're going to be pushing out 3 or 4 episodes a week. So
Sure.
Man, it's going to be nuts and awesome and such a great movie experience. So yeah, download all these episodes. Keep them on a hard drive. You know, it's one of the things that I love about movie podcasts is, you know, you can watch The Dark Knight Rises or whatever 10 years from now and go back and listen to a podcast about it, and you're still going to enjoy listening to it. So appreciate all the support we've gotten so far. I just wanted to say that to you if you're listening. Thank you for listening and downloading our episodes, because this has been more successful than I had anticipated in year one, especially through 50 episodes. So awesome, and thank you guys for all that, and we'll do our best to keep pushing out good content. So that's my little soapbox speech for now. So let's get into it, Richard. Let's talk a little movie news. Hey, Richard, anything you want to mention right off the top here? I know it's kind of a not a huge week for movie news.
Right. No, there's some good stuff. I mean, I have to pull away from just wanting to talk about Rob Ford the whole time. Greatest politician ever.
Okay, over-under. We can talk about this. This is sort of relevant. Over-under on the amount of years until we get a Rob Ford biopic, something in a theater relating to this story. This is like too good to be true.
Only if like Todd Phillips makes it.
Yeah.
Right?
Like old school.
Yeah, I would watch that. Well, let's see. We've got. I know you and I were going over some stuff. We've got some comic book news. We know comic book fans are a big portion of our listenership. I know that David S. Goyer is talking about this kind of the Sandman movie based on the Gaiman comics.
Okay. Let's stop right there. Stop.
Okay.
So David S. Goyer, as in Dark Knight and Superman, or Man of Steel, I should say.
Yes.
Writer, producer.
And Blade.
Oh, don't forget about Blade. How can you?
You can't.
I like Blade, man.
So do I.
Like, why haven't they tried to to reinvigorate Blade. I think they're going to.
I think it's yeah, I think they actually may, because there's a similar type contract as Marvel has with X-Men and Fox, where if they don't make one, then those rights go back over to Marvel. So I wouldn't be surprised.
No, Marvel got the rights, but
okay.
I doubt. Like, does it make sense to you for Blade to come out in this immediate phase in Marvel's? I don't see him fitting into Iron Man,
but you could do a separate universe movie. How do you not get Idris to be a new Blade?
Ooh,
of course he's already in Thor.
Great
call. I would watch the crap out of that in an independent universe.
I was pulling for Diesel as Blade.
Oh, that's true too.
But
that's true too.
Diesel is already in another Marvel movie.
But so is
I don't know if
Idris.
I don't know if we've confirmed or talked about it on here. I think we have. Diesel is playing Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy. He's only doing voice and mocap for it, but he only has one line in the movie, which is "I am Groot," which he says multiple times, I guess in different inflections. But that's his only line in Guardians.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. Well, that's the way it is in the comics too.
Yeah. Okay.
All he says is "I am Groot" and fights, and he's a fighting tree basically. So it's going to be crazy to see how they.
The funniest thing about Guardians of the Galaxy is like I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. I love Marvel, but like really having serious discussions about it out of context, it literally sounds like the worst movie ever made.
It does.
Like he only has one line, and he's a fighting tree, and you're just like, what?
And he's stoked about it. Like he's legit, like pumped up. Yeah, I am Groot. But it is going to be interesting, and this is a movie that we've talked about at length on this show, probably more than any other movie besides Star Wars 7. So, this is like, I agree, though. It's risky, and I'm not going to be surprised next August if we review it and it's a train wreck. Like, it's easily the most risky movie that Marvel's ever done.
High concept, for sure.
Yeah. So, back to Goyer. So is he writing? Has he written a Sandman movie, or he's just planning the idea, I guess, with the studio?
Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of Joseph Gordon-Levitt rumors.
Of course.
Yeah, as with any movie that gets made.
Yeah.
I heard they're doing a Malcolm X bio, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt is. It's apparently. It might have something to do with Justice League at a certain point. I mean, it's all those usual comic book nerds just Freudian. One of those comic book rumors where things just every possible thing that could happen with the movie is automatically leaked. Like it's going to be part of Justice League, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's going to be the lead, and we're going to get Steven Spielberg to direct. Let's see how it settles down. And it eventually is like, it's Ashton Kutcher, and we got Uwe Boll to direct, and it's not, it's always wildly disappointed.
Yeah, I'm not. It's so the most risky thing with these movies is that you're bringing I'm guessing it's a DC character, Sandman, right? Okay,
he is.
You're bringing with a character like Sandman and Ant-Man for Marvel. And maybe a possible Doctor Strange, is you're trying to bring a familiar name and make it a familiar name.
Sure.
Like
I would
how many Sandman fans are there out there?
I certainly knew Iron Man, the character, but it was not like in the non-comic book world like a character like Batman where you knew everything about him. I knew it because it was a song by Black Sabbath.
Yeah,
but
that's
they kind of did
the only reason I had heard of the word Iron Man.
Yeah, so that you can do that. It's certainly there's precedent for that. It doesn't have to be, Batman,
sure,
Superman.
That's true.
I think I even knew Aquaman more than Iron Man.
Yeah,
and Aquaman's the worst.
But that's what's surprising is that it's surprising that they would want a Sandman movie before they would do a Flash or Aquaman. Or, there's just such a huge canon of characters that Sandman, it just seems so random, especially for Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I doubt he does this, because why would he, Yeah. But I don't know how much I trust Goyer after what he said about Man of Steel. How, he wrote Man of Steel, and credit to him, it's not everything wrong with Man of Steel was his fault. But the way he pumped it up before it came out is what kind of made me angry. Like, he was like, oh, this is as good as anything Christopher did when I was involved, and I'm so stoked to have my name attached to this film and everything. And I tried to watch Man of Steel again. I haven't gotten through it yet.
Yeah,
another time.
Tough.
It's rough, man. And in retrospect, it's a lot rougher than I initially gave it credit for. But there's always the Dark Knight factor, where, especially if Nolan's involved at all, which I doubt, because he's got so much on his plate. But there's always the Dark Knight factor where Goyer and John Nolan wrote The Dark Knight. They came up with all the story arc and characters, and I mean, that's pretty amazing work that they did on that.
Absolutely.
So you got to give them the benefit of the doubt here a little bit. But my only hesitation with this is that Sandman, who the heck cares about Sandman?
I mean, I know those Neil Gaiman comics are really highly regarded.
Sure.
And I love Neil Gaiman. So, I mean, if you could really get a lot of his involvement. I
mean, even in the nerd world, though, it's not like you go to Comic-Con and you see a bunch of Sandman cosplay. It's like not even it's just such a random thing to make a movie for, especially starring arguably the biggest actor his age right now, JGL. It's just, I bet it gets made, but not with a marquee name. I bet they're going to pull a Dane DeHaan or something, who is was in Chronicle and other movies like that, Place Beyond the Pines, if you know who he is. I could see him doing this. I could see JGL doing it.
I could see, what's his name from, make an idiot out of myself here, the South African guy from...
Charlton Copley?
Yeah.
Yeah, from District 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that too, but we'll have to see. That's some interesting. Marvel news is always exciting, so man, cross your fingers on that one, because our two Marvel movies we've done on this show, Thor: The Dark World and Iron Man 3, didn't really impress us too much. I don't think so.
This Marvel 2.0
they got to make up some stuff, man. Hopefully, Avengers: Age of Ultron, or Avengers 2, as it's also known, better blow my mind. That's all I gotta say. This better be building up to something.
Captain America better give us a little something.
Yeah, it really should. Hopefully. So, let's see what else. Oh, a big trailer debuted last week. I sent you guys the link for it, I think, right when it came out. I know Brian watched it. Richard, did you watch the Noah trailer?
I did.
So give us your initial feelings, I guess.
Gosh, I'm trying to think of something unique I can say on this. I'm excited. I was excited before the trailer. It's certainly an ambitious project. Visually, it looks like all the effects aren't quite done, and they still look pretty good already. Yeah. Russell Crowe seems to have kind of rediscovered his fastball. I actually really liked him in Man of Steel.
I did too.
It's kind of a wasted... I always refer to this. Remember that awful Bewitched movie with Nicole Kidman?
And Will Ferrell, yeah.
And Will Ferrell.
Yeah,
and
oh my gosh, totally
that's one
forgot about that.
The worst movies ever, right? But, Nicole Kidman's really good in that movie.
Yeah.
And, it's such a waste because she's so perfect for that part, and she does a really good job, and it's just the worst script of all time, and it's terribly directed and all that. So, yeah, anyway, Russell Crowe kind of pulls a Nicole Kidman in Man of Steel. Where he's perfect for the part, he plays it perfectly, and the movie's terrible. Just a huge waste of everyone's time. But, he seems to be kind of back in full, early century Russell Crowe form. So I'm excited for his performance. And, we are our age, so we love Emma Watson. I'm excited to see her in something kind of on that scale. Yeah. That's not a Harry Potter movie. But the trailer was, look, I don't think they're going to surprise us with any plot twists. We know what it's going to be, but yeah, I would say visually it looks very interesting. It looks like they've really expanded on the story. And what we said or what we had heard was that the initial cut of this was quite long, right? Wasn't that a story?
I heard that. Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, it looks like they're really going to go in depth with this story. So yeah, I'm excited. I love Aronofsky though, so I'm sure it'll be in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, Aronofsky is at the helm here. Who did Requiem for a Dream, Black Swan, The Fountain, and other The Wrestler. Yeah, of course. The Fountain is
really good.
One of my favorites. Yeah, it's quite strong to quite strong.
I would say, even though it's maybe his most critically heralded movie, Black Swan might be my least favorite by him.
Yeah,
it's good.
I think Requiem might be my least favorite. It's
That's
definitely probably the best movie he's done. But I can't. I've watched it maybe 2 times in my life.
Yeah,
it's just not one that I'm like, hey, I'm going to sit down and crack a beer and watch Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's just so rough to watch, but it's a masterpiece. It really is.
And it features Marlon Wayans, so I mean that's
yeah.
For degree of difficulty, I mean it certainly is.
Incredible that Aronofsky pulled that performance out of Portman, though. I couldn't stand Natalie Portman in 99% of her
really?
work.
I didn't know you were
I just after Queen Amidala.
Yeah, she's tough.
In the Star Wars prequels, it just really ruined.
You can't fault her though for that.
And you really can't. But it's just the way she spoke throughout the robotic way she spoke. It's hard for me to get that picture out of my mind. But man, Black Swan, holy crap, she's incredible in that. What other stuff has Portman done that's good besides that?
V for Vendetta, man.
Oh, I guess. Horrible British accent by her in that movie.
Oh, terrible.
But good movie. Great movie.
I feel like, she might be slightly overrated as an actress because, like, I can't...
that's why I'm like...
I think people just like her as a
winner,
person.
Natalie Portman, really? Like, that's a sentence now? It's crazy.
Like her as a person. And she, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I mean, she's pretty attractive.
Oh,
certainly doesn't help. And
she was terrible in Thor, The Dark World. The new one. Like, there's no point in her being in it. It's just,
Yeah,
and I don't dislike Natalie I'm sure she's great. But I say all that to say, man, Aronofsky's a great director, and just wait until what he's going to get out of
The Crow,
Watson, and The Crow, and Anthony Hopkins. Speaking of Thor,
and Jennifer Connelly
reunited
with her beautiful mind.
I guarantee you, she will be You're going to leave saying, "Wow, Russell Crowe was great, but Jennifer Connelly was greater."
You think so?
I think so. I think it's about time. She's a great actress. She just hasn't done stuff since A Beautiful Mind, really, to cement herself to continue that reputation. But that's a tough role. The wife of Noah.
Oh, sure.
And depending on if they go into the whole Cain and Abel situation, and
it looks like they're going to.
Hopefully. Because there's a lot of interesting stuff to tell. So that's another question: is how are they going to tell this story? Which perspective is Aronofsky going to take? It's a biblical story. Mm-hmm. Is he going to take the? I don't know what Darren Aronofsky believes, so it's going to be interesting to see how he expresses his beliefs.
Well, I think he's going to tell it honest. As it's written in the Bible. Noah's a story that has not a whole lot of secular interest to it. So it would be hard to do a secular version of Noah because it's almost fable-ish in how kind of clean that story is, right? It's not like there's no real other historical points with it. So I think he's going to do it. I don't think he's going to be like, well, this is the secular spin on the Noah story.
Yeah,
because
but
that's tough to do.
And I doubt he will. But I just am curious. Like the Passion of the Christ, for example. People who follow the Bible and stuff, they're like, man, that was pretty dang accurate to the Bible.
Oh, sure.
I just don't want people to leave Noah and be like, man, that was just such a far cry from what I thought was written in the Bible.
Yeah.
I just hope it's like you said, a literate interpretation with Aronofsky's spin on it. And guys, be prepared, listening audience. This is we're about to enter the era again of the biblical epic. Is coming back in full force. This is just the beginning, this Noah movie. But over the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to see Ridley Scott's working on a movie right now with Christian Bale as Moses called Exodus, which is coming out. Yeah. And there is Spielberg has been eyeing a biblical movie about King David. So that might be coming out.
Producer Steven and I want to make a Western, spaghetti Western about Shamgar, the judge. He's in Judges. He has like a 1-sentence story. He just kills a bunch of people with an ox goad. And we want Samuel L. Jackson to play it. He kills... Steven and I, don't steal this idea, but listeners, but Shamgar is like he kills 700 Philistines with an ox goad, and we want it to be like a Western. And Samuel L. Jackson plays Shamgar, and the Philistines are like a rival, like a gang that comes to town in the 1800s, and Samuel L. Jackson has to whoop up on everybody with an ox goad, which is his gun. Very Tarantino inspired, but
how have we not gotten a Samson movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson?
I know,
as Samson with long hair, and wouldn't that be an amazing third act? Just Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson going to town on an entire army with a ox jaw or whatever it was, an ass jaw.
Maybe he'll get to that after.
I can see Zack Snyder trying to do that.
Well, the thing is with these biblical stories, and this is a terribly cynical way of looking at this, and I apologize. They're easy to make a lot of money, right? Because you have a built-in audience of. I mean, Passion of the Christ made a ton of money because every church small group brought 30 people to go see it 7 times.
Yeah.
And so you would think that this would be if there's precedent to make money, if Noah kills, then we're going to see pretty much every possible Bible story brought to the screen. It'll be the new comic book.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. It's already beginning to look that way. And weird, I think I had this conversation with Brian last time you weren't on the show and the Exodus news broke. That's probably how you hadn't heard the news. We talked about, regardless of what you believe, you believe in the Bible, you don't, you can't deny that they're great stories, and they would.
They've lasted thousands of years for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. And it is about time that with the technology, especially the way it is, we got the Jesus movie. I don't think there'll ever be another Jesus movie quite like The Passion.
That's true. That is a
if
unique...
there won't be about resurrection or crucifixion. It'll be about his childhood or whatever, I'm sure. But with technology the way it is, it's about time to tell these stories the way they're meant to be told, And I'm excited. Hopefully they make a David and Goliath movie because that's my favorite story in the Bible, and I think that would make a great picture if the right director.
You need to read that new Gladwell David and Goliath book.
I've been tempted. I really have.
You need to. I think you get a lot.
I've only seen it at Barnes & Noble, and I'm not going to pay like $40 for a hardcover. I'm going to order it. But have you read it? Is it good?
I did read it. It's excellent. I mean, it's not literally only about David and Goliath. It's about a lot of modern things.
Did you read Killing Jesus?
No,
Bill O'Reilly?
The Bill O'Reilly stuff. I haven't read any of those. I haven't, but I certainly see the appeal. They sell like crazy. But there's the Lincoln and the Kennedy and then Jesus.
Killing Lincoln.
One wonders who's next, right? I mean, it's going to be killing, I don't know, Frank Zappa or somebody. I don't know where you go.
Killing Hendrix. Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Mam Fam? Kent here. And yes, if you're hearing from me, you know it's time to talk about Blue Apron. If you haven't tried out Blue Apron by now, what the heck are you even doing? Blue Apron is the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. They deliver fresh meals straight to your door. All the food is fresh, it's sourced from local farms, and there's no wasted ingredients. I've been a Blue Apron subscriber for a long time now, and they have still, to this day, never let me down. There's tons of variety. Some featured upcoming meals include summer vegetable and egg paninis, soy glazed pork and rice cakes, skillet vegetable chili with cheddar drop biscuits, holy crap, and garlic butter shrimp and corn with green bean salad. So take it from me. Try out Blue Apron now. Go to blueapron.com/mad. That's blueapron.com/mad. Get 3 meals on us for free. Nothing goes better with a movie than dinner. So check out Blue Apron. blueapron.com/mad. Blue Apron, a better way to cook. Hey, Mam Fam, question for you. Do you own a small business, or are you a boss? Are you looking to hire awesome people, but you just can't find somebody to fill that role? Well, let me tell you about ZipRecruiter.com. With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to 100 plus job sites all with one click. In fact, over 80% of jobs posted on ZipRecruiter get a qualified candidate in just 24 hours. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. That's why ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike other job sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them. Right now, you can post your jobs for free on ZipRecruiter by going to ZipRecruiter.com/mad. That's ZipRecruiter.com/mad. One more time, try it for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/mad. Thanks to ZipRecruiter for supporting this episode of the Mad About Movies podcast.
I guess we've been going a while here. I guess it's a pretty good segue to talk about JFK and talk about Parkland. So let's do it.
President Kennedy is being rushed to Parkland Hospital.
Got something. It's the president. He's coming in.
He's probably got the flu.
We do not know officially.
It's had just little pieces.
Doctor?
Who's the attendant?
Right now, it is just you.
Do something!
It is the president.
I know who it is.
Okay, so this is a touchy subject. I mean, we can sit here all day and debate who we thought is behind the JFK assassination. And being from Dallas, you hear stories all the time about, oh, my friend's parent knew this guy, and things like that. And we can honestly make a case for both sides of conspiracy or non-conspiracy. So I guess we can try. I guess some of that will probably bleed out in this conversation, but
please,
we'll try to tell it like it is. Give a little background of the events that transpired. Richard, do you know anybody? I know you say you've grown up here pretty much your whole life. Do you know anybody that was there alive at that time, that was around downtown Dallas at that time?
No, I don't. I mean, I come, my mom's family is from Pennsylvania. And to give an idea of my sort of lineage, my last name is Barden, as you know, but that's, as with most people, my father's last name. My mother's name, birth name, was Maureen Kellyanne O'Donnell. Very Irish family in Pennsylvania area. So this was their guy. John F. Kennedy was every good Irish Catholic's thing. So I grew up with a large amount of Kennedy influence in my life because of my mother's family. She adored to her dying day John F. Kennedy and the entire Kennedy family. And so with that influence in my brain, though, always going on in my brain, I know everything about Kennedy. It never really occurs to me that I live where he was assassinated.
It's amazing. I'm a Dallas Stars diehard fan. We've had season tickets since '97, and I swear I've driven through Dealey Plaza, multiple times a week. Sometimes on that exact same lane of the street that he was on, and it's surreal. You don't think about it. I mean, there's a giant X in the street where the exact place was. But yeah, I'll let you keep talking. But it's incredible to be associated with such a large event like that.
Absolutely, and it gets hammered home. I never think about it, right? Obviously, if you were to ask me where was John F. Kennedy assassinated, I would be able to say Dallas. It's not that I don't know it, but I mean, it's just being from here. It's not. I don't know. It's odd to me that anytime I tell someone from Dallas, that's probably the first thing they think of when they think of the city where I'm from, and they often ask me about it and how
Super Bowls and murdering presidents. That's pretty much Dallas. Yeah,
exactly. As many here would probably like to be known. Oh,
jeez.
So there's, I get the cliche, how often you go, how many times have you been to Dealey Plaza, and book depository jokes and things like that, and it's always kind of off-putting, like, oh yeah, that's where I live. It's just so not part of the culture here. It certainly is lately because of the 50th anniversary. I think people are talking about it more than ever. But it's really interesting to kind of put things. Oh yeah, I live there. I've been to Parkland Hospital. Yeah. I've been a patient at Parkland Hospital. We share these things in common when you watch these movies. It's like, wow, it really is kind of a surreal thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. And crazy, this movie Parkland that we're going to talk about, it centers around sort of Parkland Hospital. That's why it's called that. That was the hospital that that Kennedy was taken to immediately after the accident, or the event.
The event. I think of all the conspiracy theories,
it wasn't an accident.
Yeah, of all the conspiracy theories, I think accident is not one of them. But I'd love to hear that argument.
Well, when you think about tragedy in America, 99% of the time it's like how did this happen? You know, like
sure.
Horrible. So the first thing I noticed when I booted this movie up, it was produced by the American Film Company, which I didn't do any research into them. I'm guessing it's sort of a Smithsonian-funded film company. Do you know anything about that?
I don't, and I can certainly do some research while we're sitting here. But that's actually a point I was going to bring up. This is not a good movie at all. Dramatically, it's not good. But my critique of it was, it really feels like you got a bunch of really good actors. You know, this has a pretty good cast. It's got Billy Bob Thornton and the Efron and tons of people, and you had them star in a movie that would play at a museum as you walk by. Doesn't it feel like at a museum you go into that little theater and you watch some like 20-minute dramatization of something? This is what that whole movie felt like to me, just with much better actors. But the writing and direction and everything was still exactly the same. It feels like some sort of propaganda of some kind. Not that it's really trying to make a point. It's just the production style is very like PBS.
Sure, I agree. It's definitely not a big budget movie at all. And, of course, the comparison you're going to make talking about JFK-type movies is JFK, Oliver Stone's JFK, which you have seen and I have seen, and I guess we can compare the two. But the two ways you can go is, all right, you can do this is probably a $5 million movie, you know, can do this and tell, you know, sort of this little story, or you can, which I think is that's definitely one way to do it, but I think the correct way to do it is go the Oliver Stone route, make it a 2.5 to 3 hour thing.
Sure.
You know, look into every mouse hole of the case, you know, open every folder that was at the FBI, you know, and I think Stone got a lot of crap for that, for making it more about the case than the events that occurred. Totally agree with his decision, though, in retrospect, because we got this movie. And if you want to see what happened, you know, this Parkland movie might be the best you're going to get, really. I mean, it's what more can you – how much better could it be, honestly? You know, it's just such a – Zac Efron and Colin Hanks are the two main doctors. I mean, the only scenes they have is just their faces in shock and – you know, yelling medical lingo back and forth. I mean, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what the heck was going on the entire time.
Absolutely.
Everyone's in shock. Every actor in this movie is playing somebody in shock. That's what they're doing.
It's just
it's a shame.
I'm going to butt in here
and
say that the American Film Company is a film production company founded in 2008 by Joe Ricketts. Ricketts previously founded Ameritrade, and with his family, he owns the Chicago Cubs. The American Film Company founded on the belief that real life is often more compelling than fiction, and they produce feature films about true stories from American past. So it is a privately held company. They made The Conspirator, which was that Robert Redford one with James McAvoy. Yeah. So they're you know, and so also
it's funny not a great film, by the way.
Not a very good film at all. And Ricketts, I read about him. He actually had a lot of big parts in the 08 or the last election in Chicago. Yeah, he's an interesting fella. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's to my point. But this is a movie where you're not going to get a lot of drama here. I mean, it's just telling it like it is, really. And that's all I really expected from this. It's a short film. I mean, this is maybe less than 90 minutes long. And I think that's not really good, because you don't get enough out of these actors. I mean, if you're going to have freaking Paul Giamatti and Billy Bob Thornton in a movie, give them more lines. Yes. You know, script was not. It was good in telling, you know, telling a timeline of the events. Didn't really get much acting in this movie like I wanted. Probably the best acting scene is the scene between Jackie Weaver, Oswald's mom, and Oswald's brother, when they just get to the police station and they have sort of a back and forth about Oswald. And so there are some decent moments for acting in here,
right?
And decent choices by the director. I will give him a little bit of credit. This is like one of his first movies ever. He wrote it and directed it. So, and it wasn't an adapted screenplay. It was based on a book. So, pretty overwhelming project here. So there were a few things I did enjoy. I liked how they showed the assassination. It was basically just a camera pointed at Paul Giamatti, and you just watching him watch the assassination. They don't, like in JFK, Stone got a criticism a lot for showing the raw Zapruder footage multiple times, up close, slow-mo, and everything in between. And that's tough, man. And the way they did it here is they show the people watching this Zapruder film, and that's all you see. So you get the emotion from them. And I liked the stuff with Zapruder. I mean, I like this movie could have been called Zapruder.
Yeah.
And would have been interesting. I think it's a really interesting story. Definitely a good choice for Giamatti to play Abraham Zapruder. We'll talk more about Giamatti next week when we talk 12 Years a Slave. But I really like Paul Giamatti. He always sort of brings it here. I mean, there were a few moments where you could tell he was really trying to make something out of this movie, which I appreciate because
it's not awful. It just is kind of a meandering.
It's a very red box movie.
Yeah,
and that's where we watched it. But it's a very all right.
We actually watched it at the Redbox.
Yeah,
we stood there. You can actually hit a play button, and it really
that's
makes
the next step. Yeah,
it makes people behind you really upset. But whatever. We had to watch it.
But I mean, it's just a very simple film. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it was a PBS production.
Exactly. That's what it feels like. It feels like American Masters.
It feels like a made-for-TV movie. It really does. But we did get to see Efron in a serious role. Pretty cool moment. And I think he shined when they brought the president in to the hospital.
Yeah.
And he turns around and realizes he's the only doctor in the room, and there's the president. Pretty good stuff from Efron. You can see he's maturing a little bit. So I liked that. I thought there was a little too much with the Secret Service, FBI. I like Ron Livingston a lot. But I think I don't know. He's been doing stuff. He really has been.
I want to know where
doing stuff.
Where he's been and where Oliver Platt has been.
Right. It's been a while, hasn't it? It definitely has been a while. But
since Mousetrap.
Yeah. Classic. We need to do our Mousetrap episode. We've been getting requests.
Oh, it's coming. Talk about a 200th episode or 100th.
But there's a lot of interesting. I mean, this is definitely not an A+ movie. Okay, this is a B to a B minus. It's not a great. There are definitely better movies about the JFK situation that you could watch. But there are cool little moments like they don't talk about much. You don't hear about much. I guess them trying to get a casket on Air Force One.
Yeah,
I thought that was a pretty interesting little.
Yeah, it's
scene.
like it's a movie about the logistics of the JFK assassination.
Sure, and it was basically it's the panic going on around it. Like
it places you there.
Parkland, yeah.
I mean, there's some value to it on that front. I mean, that's something I guess original. It's original idea.
Historically,
this doesn't create quite the drama that one would want when watching a movie. Sure. It feels like a really, like I said, a good piece of museum cinema.
This is a great movie, and shout out to Scotty Stanham, the sports guy. This is a great movie to show like your history class.
Yes,
it'll tell it like it is. It's not too.
No, it's not political.
It's not too political, not too emotional. Like kids aren't going to be bawling their eyes out watching the Zapruder footage in here, but it does tell a good timeline of the events, and I appreciated that. Nice little sighting from Jackie Earle Haley, the priest. I always enjoy his work. He was Rorschach in Watchmen and Freddy Krueger in the new Krueger reboot and some other stuff. Great actor. Good to see him always. Ron Livingston, like I said, good to see him. Love Office Space and some of his other work. He's
Billy
classic.
Bob too. I haven't seen Billy Bob.
Billy Bob Thornton. Yeah, man, such a shame. I wish he would have had a bigger role in this.
Yeah,
because he's great. And why have Billy Bob freaking Thornton in your movie if you're going to give him 4 lines? Like I just don't get it. Like, hire some random dude with gray hair, and it's the same thing. Like,
Yep.
it just maybe, and I think Billy Bob's from Austin. I'm not sure, but I think Ron Livingston's
Billy
from
Bob's from
Dallas.
Arkansas.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he lives in Texas now, I believe, but he's originally an Arkansas guy.
I thought he had a Dallas connection, but I guess not. But
I think,
I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
maybe it's a lot of these guys involved. Just like, man, I'd really like to be involved in something for
Sure.
JFK's 50th. You know, I want to give back somehow, and I appreciate them for adding some star quality to this movie.
Absolutely, and it's certainly, yeah. All the performances are very professionally well done. There's nothing really ham-handed or anything at all. I mean, it's a very professionally made movie. I would watch it as a movie by this director. It's just, it really just kind of lacks any. It's not, I wasn't like excited at any point watching this.
Yeah.
It's not a good movie in the classic sense of a movie.
Sure. Yeah, it tells the events, but Oliver Stone's movie is a great movie. I mean,
Yeah.
the acting in that is awesome. Tommy Lee Jones is incredible. Kevin Costner, of course, is great. Wayne Knight, random Wayne Knight from Newman from Seinfeld is randomly in JFK.
Hello, Jerry.
Yeah. Gary Oldman as Oswald is awesome in JFK. I mean, that's it's become sort of a punchline now with how much Oliver Stone has tried to capitalize on politics and 9/11 and other things. But JFK is a dang good movie.
Yeah,
I have no problem saying that.
That's the best.
But
the era of Stone, with that and The Doors, kind of back to back.
Oh yeah, totally. I totally agree. So yeah, there were cool aspects here. The thing I really felt like they were trying to get across is how every person involved, anybody that witnessed it, was trying to blame themselves here. No one knew why this happened, what they could have done to prevent it. And I that's definitely the thesis of this movie, is just the emotional toll that this small group of people that were directly involved with this insane event went through. With Ron Livingston's character, Billy Bob's character, Zapruder himself, Oswald's parents, and the Secret Service agents themselves who, took Kennedy back to Washington and things. They had failed, they felt like. So it's a commendable effort here from the director and the cast and everyone. But I'm going to suggest, if you want to see a movie about this, see JFK if you haven't seen it. See that first. See this kind of for the more background stories, because they don't really go too much into the investigation with Oswald here like they do in JFK, which is so interesting. It's just an incredible narrative on its own with the mob and all the rumors going around about that. So the best moment in the movie, and I'll leave it at this before we give our grades, I really liked how they addressed the LBJ taking over for President Kennedy's situation. That's probably the best moment of the movie, where one of the Secret Service guys turns around to another one and says, "We've got to get the president out of here. We have to stick with LBJ, the current president." And they point over they look over at Jackie and say, "She's not related to the commander-in-chief anymore," or something. She's not the first lady anymore, or she's not even related to him, to the president. And that's just a crazy realization. Like, holy crap, 2 hours ago. And they said it at the end. I don't remember who the reporter was. They took some archival footage, which I enjoyed that too. Who the reporter was. It says 2 hours ago or an hour ago, Kennedy was a great, the leader of a nation, and just in a few short seconds how something can change the course of history. It's amazing. And, we probably won't do a World Trade Center episode because the 10 years have already passed for that. Maybe 20 years. If we're still doing this podcast, we'll talk about 9/11. But, I mean, it's just crazy to think about these events that shape our lives and the circumstances around them. Like, the Bin Laden killing was probably the only event that's taken place in the Twitter era, and it's just how the response to that
was
was
great night.
instantaneous. And
Yeah, absolutely.
just you saw it unfolding before your eyes. I mean, the 60s were an era where people watched their TVs and that's all they had, you know. So everyone's learning together, and it's just amazing how these historical events, you know, change with technology and with media.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the Bin Laden killing that mission, I think it certainly Twitter was out there and big, but it's the event that really legitimized Twitter. It's something you always talk about, like, you know, when you're talking to an old person, they're like, why do you get on Twitter? Why does everyone want to know, you know, what you had for breakfast? You know, they always use that same, like, people don't care what you're eating, or, you know, that kind of trope of people. You know, the easiest way to sort of fight that is say, well, you know, when Bin Laden killed everyone, everyone immediately could know, and they were talking about it. There was this kind of active discussion online, and everyone kind of celebrated on Twitter that night, and in kind of this oddly kind of beautiful way, you know, cathartic experience for the nation. You hate saying that the death of anybody is hard to celebrate, but so I think, you know, that those events can really hammer home other cultural things. You know, this is news footage with this JFK of we still, you know, you and I were not even alive when this happened, but, you know, that's the announcement, the Cronkite announcement of the president has been shot is one of those, like, defining American, you know, Americanisms, I suppose. And you know, there will always be movies about these things. You know, the true story is oftentimes more interesting. I just don't know if necessarily this story required the detailed retelling that it was given, but it was certainly fine and well made and had some value.
Yeah, no, totally. And I'll put on the books. I'll put on the record. I think that, you know, the Warren Commission closed a long time ago.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, I'm a believer in conspiracy. I don't think
you are.
I know that Oswald was involved. His fingerprints are on the rifle. There's no doubt about that. I don't think he acted alone.
No,
that's a totally different thing.
And I
that'll
think
probably never.
Well, you've got the Jackie O time capsule that's supposed to come out at some point. That a lot of people believe has a lot of information in it that she wanted to. I think it's like 25 years after her death or something. I don't know. You can look that and that. You know, these are things that we discussed, you know, for forever. So.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just crazy going down there. If you ever visit Dallas, I suggest going down to Dealey Plaza. Just go to the Sixth Floor Museum. They've got a museum set up, a gift shop. It's weird to buy gifts, but they have souvenirs to commemorate, you know, you being there. You can go, you can see the exact place you were. You could stand where Zapruder was. The original fence is still there. That supposedly there was a shooter behind. The original fence, people wrote on it, you know, Oswald's a patsy and all this stuff. And it's just an interesting place to go if you're ever in Dallas. So I suggest doing that. But, so my grade for this is going to be a B-, maybe. Like, it just wasn't bad because it was fine. It was just felt like it felt like a movie I would watch in history class in high school. And not like a movie I would go to a movie, buy popcorn and watch, you know. So, your grade? I
would say C+.
Okay, I'm not totally angry I saw it. I'm glad I saw it, actually.
Glad I saw it, especially this time of year.
Like I reiterated before, we don't ever try to get too political on this podcast. There are very few moments where we get a chance to kind of be serious while also doing a movie review, and this was one of them. See Parkland, see JFK if you feel in your heart that you want to sort of revisit this event. And thanks for checking out this episode. I know if you've listened to this far, you're obviously interested in what we do and the event. So yeah, God bless America, God bless movies, and cool experience that we can talk about this event through a movie. You know,
very very much so.
Very cool through the internet. Amazing, mind blowing, awesome.
Powers of the internet.
All right, let's move on. Let's do weekly recommends.
Sure.
Weekly recommends.
I'm gonna give a recommend. Richard, you're gonna like this one, I know, and I thought of you when I decided to recommend this. Bob Dylan. I don't know if you've seen this. He's sort of in the news this week. He released I think he's coming out with like a vinyl album collection, maybe like all his albums on vinyl in one box set or something.
Very cool.
Something crazy like that.
I gotta get Self-Portrait and Slow Train Come and all the really good stuff. I'm just kidding.
Classic Bart.
The '80s Dylan collection. That's where the real action is.
Yeah, exactly. The late '80s Dylan.
Yeah,
probably all of Dylan's electric stuff is what I prefer.
Yeah. No, it's good. No, there's so much good though. Go ahead, continue.
But so Bob Dylan, man, hats off to his marketing people, whoever's behind this. If you go to bobdylan.com, I believe it is. Let me make sure before I. bobdylan.com. There's this. Yeah, it is. So you go to bobdylan.com. There's a Like a Rolling Stone interactive video.
Cool.
That has been put together. It's freaking amazing. So basically, the idea for this video is you click on it, and it's like a TV guide, like you would see on your TV set. So the Bob Dylan song "Like a Rolling Stone" starts playing, and as you flip the channels, each channel is singing along to "Like a Rolling Stone," but in real time.
Very cool.
And you can change the channels at your own will. So you can sort of make your own music video with footage from these shows on this guide. And one of the channels is the Dylan music video for Like a Rolling Stone. So you can watch that a little bit if you want to. But I mean, the people that got involved is amazing. Like Pawn Stars are on it. Like you flip the channel to Pawn Stars, and they're,
that's great.
I guess reviewing a guitar, but their lips are moving to the lyrics of Like a Rolling Stone. Amazing idea. Coming from somebody who's in a band and did this marketing music for a living for a couple of years. Incredible idea, incredibly cool video, interactive music video. If you're a Dylan classic rock fan, or if you just like cool, awesome videos, check this out, man.
Oh, there's even like a Bachelor parody.
Yeah, there's like parodies of A Weather Report, and there's a ESPN, like Steve Levy's in it.
That's so great.
It's incredible. So check it out. I'll link it on madaboutmoviespodcast.com. Just click Weekly Recommends and go to the link. I don't know how long it'll be up, but definitely check it out while it's up.
That is so cool. Thanks for the share.
It's one of my favorite things I think he's ever done in his career. It's incredible. And it's worth multiple watches because you can change it up every time. And really cool stuff. So check that out. Bob Dylan, Like a Rolling Stone, on his website. So, Richard.
Just finished a great little book over the weekend. Nick Offerman.
Yes. Bro, man. Speaking of, I said I was going to buy you a Christmas present with Colin Coward's book off the air. I was literally going to buy this for you for Christmas. I knew you would be crazy about this Nick Offerman.
It's awesome.
What's it called again? Paddle Your Own Canoe?
Paddle Your Own Canoe.
Yes.
One Man's Fundamentals for Delicious Living. It incorporates, obviously, a lot of his like woodworking prowess. He's I would say, quite a linguist. He's very interested in words. He has a very unique way of writing, and is certainly a life philosophy of a very interesting life of someone that is very driven, but also very artistic. And we know him as Ron Swanson, but he's an incredibly eclectic human being, a really unique human being. I like these kind of celebrities that have a lot of odd. I like weird celebrities. I like people like Nick Offerman and like Penn Jillette and people like that are sort of interesting human beings on the outside of being celebrity. I like those kind of people. So Paddle Your Own Canoe, Nick Offerman, couldn't recommend it higher. Great book, great writer, really, really good writer, not just like celebrity good writer, highly literate writer. So check it out.
Definitely. I definitely am going to.
Yeah, you'll like it.
I'm glad I got your recommend. I literally almost bought this for you yesterday. Crazy. I wasn't going to text you because I knew if I asked you about it, you would know I was either going to buy it for you or something. So,
well, you're very sweet. It's the thought that counts. You're a sweetheart.
Man, it's impossible to buy you a book because you have every book. You've read every book.
I haven't read every book, but I'm getting there.
The Johnny Carson biography that just came out?
Yeah, that one's cool. That's I haven't read it yet, but it's that's actually so Johnny didn't have an agent or a manager or anything. He just had a lawyer that was kind of like his fixer. Mm-hmm. And it's actually that guy wrote it.
Oh,
so
cool.
He was with Johnny from back when Tonight Show was in New York, so we're talking mid to late 60s. I think he was with him up till 88. So Johnny retired in 92, so he didn't quite make it to retirement. But, you got a good 20-something years of Johnny stories. And, you know me, I'll eat that up. But, yeah, that's certainly, try to get to that before the end of the year. But, I love that.
Yeah, I know you'll read it. So
definitely.
Don't buy it. I'll buy it. No,
you don't have to do that. I'm working on my Johnny Carson biopic. So we got to get that done. How's that not been done?
It really is happening.
Oh, is it really?
Let me just type this into. I don't know if they're doing a biopic or here it is. NBC is developing a mini series. That's what it is. About Carson. So they said
person.
John Slattery, perfect casting.
Oh, he's playing. So it's going to be.
No, this is like a fake list of who could play the people. It says Dane DeHaan as young Johnny, who I already mentioned earlier, and
that's odd,
John Slattery as old Johnny. That could be cool. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. But Richard, let me ask you this: where can I find you online?
You can find me at richardbarden.com or follow me on Twitter at richardbarden. Kent, where might I find you?
You can find me online and Twitter at Kent Garrison, KentGarrison. You can find our comrade Brian Gill, who's normally on this show, on Twitter at bgill12. And I just want to say again, you can find all our episodes at madaboutmoviespodcast.com and take advantage of that new search function that we added. So just go to the top and search for your favorite episode. You don't have to scroll through a bunch of pages and find all that. So anything else you want to mention, Richard, before we get out of here?
Get better, Brian. Just apply the cream and you'll be better in no time.
Exactly. And welcome to the Texas Rangers, Prince Fielder.
Yeah.
And goodbye, Ian Kinsler.
See you, Kinsler.
It is official.
Hold on. I'm going to go through every big hit in Ian Kinsler's history. Okay, I'm done.
And Detroit fans, just be prepared for a lot of pop-outs, especially in games that count.
Yeah.
And I know they could say that about Prince Fielder, but...
at least it's different.
Yeah.
No, I wish Ian the best. Seems like a cool guy.
I'm just glad we're going to get Profar finally at second base.
Yes.
So, and on that note, until next time, we will see you at the cinema.
Goodbye. See ya.
Goodbye.
Once upon a time, you dressed so fine, threw the bumps of dime in your prime. Then people call, say beware doll, you're bound to fall, you thought they were all kidding you.